Ideas, concepts, are principles in common. They are also strikingly similar in imagery and phraseology. Blessed are the meek, Jesus says, for example, in perhaps the most famous line of the Sermon on the Mount, for they shall inherit the earth. But 5.5. This assertion derives from Psalm 37:11. But the meek shall possess the land, and delight themselves in abundant prosperity. The same psalm was of particular interest to the Qumran community. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, there is a commentary on its meaning interpreted. This concerns the congregation of the poor. The congregation of the poor, or the meek, was one of the names by which the Qumran community referred to themselves. Nor is this the only such parallel. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Preaches Jesus Matt. The War Scroll from Cave 1 states, among the poor in spirit there is a power. Indeed, the whole of the Gospel of Matthew, and especially chapter 10 and 18, contains metaphors and terminology at times almost interchangeable with those of the community rule. In Matthew 5:48, for instance, Jesus stresses the concept of perfection. You must therefore be perfect, just as your heavenly Father is perfect. The community rule speaks of those who walk in the way of perfection, as commanded by God. There will be, the text affirms, no pity on all who depart from the way, no comfort until their way becomes perfect. In Matthew 21:42, Jesus invokes as Isaiah 28:16 and echoes Psalm 118:22. Have you never read in the scriptures, it was the stone rejected by the builders that became the keystone? The community role invokes the same reference, stating that the council of the community shall be that tried wall, that precious cornerstone. If the Qumran scrolls and the Gospels echo each other, such echoes are even more apparent between the scrolls and the Pauline text. The Acts of the Gospels, the Acts of the Apostles and Paul's letters, the concept of sainthood, for example, and indeed the very word saint are common enough in later Christianity, but striking in the context of the Dead Sea Scrolls. According to the opening line of the community role, however, the Master shall teach the saints to live according to the book of the community rule. Paul, in his letter to the Romans 15:25-7, uses the same terminology of the early church. I must take a present of money to the saints in Jerusalem. Indeed, Paul is particularly lavish in his use of Qumran terms and images. One of the Qumran texts, for example, speaks of all those who observe the law in the house of Judah, whom God will deliver because of their suffering and because of their faith in the teacher of righteousness. Paul, of course, ascribes a similar redemptive power to faith. In Jesus' deliverance, he says in his epistle to the Romans 3:21,